I'm Steve Gilman, and this is Brand Story, where we help you build stronger, more sustainable brands by sharing insightful conversations with brand leaders, marketers, and professional storytellers. My guest today is Diane DiCarlo.
We don't need to make stuff up. Let's say the things that are real, say the things that are unique to you that are real, not what's aspirational. You should keep working on your aspirational things, and when you get there, we'll talk about that. But if we make promises that you can't deliver on, then your customers aren't going to stick around for that part.
Diane is a marketing consultant and fractional CMO who has spent years helping organizations make smarter, more human decisions about how they show up in the world. Through her consulting firm, Curiosity Consulting, she has worked both inside organizations and alongside them, which gives her a unique perspective on what actually works in today's complex world of marketing. Today, we're going to dive in and talk about the reality of marketing, leadership, how you find clarity inside organizations, and what it really takes to understand the people you're trying to reach. Hi, Diane. Welcome to Brand Story.
Hi, thank you for having me.
Yeah, this is exciting. Like, you and I worked together years and years ago when our paths crossed in the healthcare marketing world.
Yeah, I don't want to do the math.
Yeah, it's some math to do. It was a bit ago. And then, I had Carrie Willits, who was also part of the Centera world. And, in her episode, I called it getting merged upon.
We did a little bit.
We did. Like, you were at Martha Jefferson and I was at RMH. We both got merged upon.
We did. And it was an interesting experience. I think there were some things that went really well, and there were some lessons learned during that process.
I think in a lot of ways, it kind of helped inform how I enter organizations and communicate with them when I'm new to them. Was any of your experiences informed how you start a relationship and show up?
I think in some ways it was. I think there was also, I learned that even as a communicator, I didn't always have all of the information that was needed. And so, over time, as I look back, I was like, oh gosh, I did that so wrong.
Yeah.
There's so many different things that we could have done better for our team members and just for understanding each other, the big organization that was coming in and merging upon us.
Yeah.
It was, I feel like I learned a lot.
Yeah.
But there, while I'm not there anymore, there are a lot of great people that I met.
Oh, yeah.
So
we still work with Centera, and, we've been working with them for years and years. And I think that level of change is difficult. We also work with WVU Medicine up in West Virginia and Pennsylvania. And, they do mergers, and it's happening in the whole healthcare industry and has been for years. And I think it's difficult from the people doing it. It's a very complex thing to do, probably one of the most complex. And then, of course, it's going to be a lot of change for the people who are the mergees. And I think, in times of change, you learn a ton.
You do. And I think, one thing I learned about myself is when I enter into an organization like that, especially if it's a larger organization than what I've been in, I come in very optimistic and assuming that they know everything and that it's all going to go super smoothly and I'm going to learn, I'm just going to fold right in and learn all these things. And then I find out that, oh, well, we're all doing this together.
Yeah.
And we're learning how to do it together. And I consistently have that experience. So you'd think that I would learn that,
right.
Go into it more open-minded of we might be all learning this together.
Yeah, it's interesting. Do you think you would assume that the parent organization or the one that's, coming in and either, integrating or merging with another organization have it all figured out. But I know when you and I went through it, Centera was very new to that. So they, obviously they're going to get better at it, but each situation is unique. And it's like any partnership or any organizations coming together, everyone's going to be learning. So no, I discovered the same thing. No one has it all figured out.
Yeah. Yeah. And to their credit, I think they were pretty open about it being them too. Like, I think they let us know that we were all sort of in it together. But we also, as the organizations that were sort of merging in, needed to have an understanding that they were the big ones, right? Like they are kind of taking us on. And so we all kind of needed to figure out how to balance that.
Yeah, I think it was a great learning. When you're going through something like that, I think it's hard on everyone, but
Yeah.
I also think it's in times like that you learn the most about yourself, your colleagues, and your career. So
Yeah.
what made you go from being inside organizations, like working inside Centera, and then starting your own consulting firm? What motivated that big step?
I can't say that I hadn't contemplated it at periods throughout my life.
Sure.
But when I finally did, I had been at Centera for about 14 years and was just sort of feeling like I needed to learn more. I needed to do more. And strategic marketing is really my love and my passion. And
Right.
so I wanted to just go and write all the plans. And there's only so many plans you need in a year at
Right.
one organization. And I had an opportunity to work with an organization in their consulting department. They didn't have a client-facing, marketing consultant, but they had a strategy team.
Yeah.
And so a former colleague had said, we go to these independent community hospitals around the country, and we build their 3-year strategic plan. And often it says, you need to build your brand, or you need to do some marketing, or you need to do this. And we then don't tell them how to do it.
Right.
So we just sort of leave it, and especially in a smaller, like, rural hospital, a
Yeah.
critical access hospital, they've got, an executive assistant who's doing some social media or something, and they're
Yeah.
saying that's marketing, or they just don't have that team. So they brought me in to do that for these clients. And unfortunately, that position only lasted a year,
Right.
which was sad for me
Yeah.
because I loved it so much. But some of my clients wanted to come with me. And so then I started thinking, huh, do I want like another like real job or do I want to go do this on my own?
Right.
And so that's kind of where I landed here.
That's really cool. So how long have you been doing Curiosity Consulting and how's it going?
So I left that job at the beginning of 2024 and I officially decided to do it, to like name myself and do this thing
Yeah.
last June. So it's
Wow.
been not quite a year, but it's going great.
That's
Like it's
great.
really just a lot of fun.
So how's the view? I always, when I talk to people who have gone from working in a corporate environment and now are on their own or they've joined the agency world or whatever the move has been, um, how's the view and what differences are you seeing from being inside something like that? And now you're on the outside.
I mean, when you go into an organization and they're so deep in it and they can't see
Yeah.
outside of themselves, it's really it's nice to be able to come in and bring a different perspective. At the same time, I'm having to learn every client as they come along.
Yeah.
So it's it's really engaging. It's really fun to always be learning, um, and to be able to help people see like what they're missing about themselves.
Right.
And often it's the good things about themselves, right? I mean, I love being able to go in and say, I talked to your customers and I've talked to your, team, and you guys are doing a great job. We just need to tell people.
Yeah. It's really interesting how I just think when you're inside an organization, it's harder to see it.
Yeah.
You're sort of in the weeds, you're in the whirlwind. And
Hmm.
it's like doing anything, like trying to look at yourself is very difficult, so
Yeah,
having some help of someone that can take a detailed look and get a feeling for what you're not saying and where your strengths are being hidden. It's almost like trying to help people shine the light in the right place.
exactly. Yeah. I feel like I heard that analogy just the other day
Oh, did
too.
you?
So it must be it is. It's absolutely the way it is. And people just kind of get so busy.
Yeah.
It's too busy to step out and sort of think about the big picture and where that light does need to be
Yeah.
hitting.
And there's some real value that you can add there. So I'm glad it's going well. I'm sure it's an exciting learning filled time for you in the last year. So let me ask you about was there a moment in your career, whether it was before you made this change or in it where you realized, maybe an organization is saying one thing, but it's not resonating and the patients or customers are just not hearing it? because there is a disconnect, because I think that's part of the job is finding the disconnects.
I do think so. I think more often it's even we're just not even talking specifically to the right people.
Yeah. Yep.
Like we can say, we're marketing orthopedics, and that could be anyone.
Right.
It's like, but really anyone? Like,
Does it have to be anyone?
and it probably shouldn't be
Yeah.
anyone, and it depends on what specifically you're marketing in orthopedics. Is it sports medicine or is it joint replacement? Because those are different anyones.
Yeah.
And then when you layer in the competitive environment, um, do you have another facility that is doing the same thing for a specific segment? Maybe you need to not be doing, like, maybe there's a whole untapped segment that you need to be looking at.
Yeah.
So it's kind of digging into all of those things to find really the right person that you're trying to talk to and not just saying it's anyone. And then in a hospital environment, remembering that it's not always a consumer driven
Right.
marketing campaign, right?
Yeah.
Like sometimes that anyone you need to be talking to are referring providers or, you know, team members or, community leaders or anybody other than the consumer because those are the people who are making the decisions.
Yeah. And I think that's universal. And that's one of the things I really enjoy about your content on LinkedIn. Where I think we're very like-minded is I think organizations are tempted or either a little deluded that they know who they're talking to sometimes, or they're
Yeah.
tempted to skip it. Like, okay,
Right.
we're doing this new thing. We know who we're talking. Let's not,
Yeah.
let's not take the time to
Right.
really decide who we're talking to. So how now that you're doing this for organizations who are coming cold, what patterns are you seeing around that?
um, Sometimes they know a bit more than they realize that they know. It's just
Yeah.
kind of getting them to say it out loud for themselves. So you start asking questions and they've already got the answers, but they just haven't actually, codified those answers. And so when you repeat back almost exactly what they said, they're like, "Oh yeah, that's so brilliant. You're so smart." And I'm like, "Thanks. You
Right.
just told me exactly the answer, right?" Um, so sometimes they do know. You just kind of have to tease it out. And sometimes it's you yeah, I mean, you can do all the things, you're doing all the things, but are you doing to the right place?
Right.
And, you can actually save money if you take that time to really look within. What I do find is a lot of times they're not talking to their customers.
Yeah. Right.
They're assuming that they know what their customers are thinking and feeling. I mean, they are literally talking to their customers, but they're not getting that feedback and they're not understanding the customer experience.
Yeah.
And so it takes someone, often an outsider to start asking questions and, and those people start speaking pretty freely and you get a lot of really good insights
Yeah.
when you come back and that your client says, "Well, oh, oh no,
Oh, no. I had no
oh no,
idea we had
we
that
need to
gap.
do something about that."
Yeah, and also it changes and it morphs. There are different times where people are having different
Yeah.
types of brand experiences. So, the thing that I've seen is someone may have done some, perception surveys or actually done some focus groups or talked or
Yeah.
surveyed, actual patients or actual customers, but it was a while ago.
Right.
And the organization's gone through some change, and yet
Mhm.
we didn't check back in.
Yeah.
And I think, in this day and age, if someone has a negative experience, it's fast how it can be quick how fast they write off a brand.
Yeah. Yes. And then how quickly that spreads
Yeah,
because the crankier you are, the more likely you are to write a review that's bad and just
right.
tell everyone you are really unhappy. And um, the reverse isn't always true. I
Yeah.
mean, unless you've had such a stellar experience, but more often we like to complain.
Yeah. We're a cranky species.
We are. We really,
It's a shame because, I wish there's a negativity bias in experience. And I think
yeah,
people do. I don't know whether it's just that the internet and social media fosters this, but people do magnify negative experiences much, much
yeah,
more than positive, which means you have to work so much harder and more intentionally to get those positive experiences and outcomes.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, admittedly, we do have to sometimes remind customers, hey, would you mind giving us a
Yeah,
review? Whatever it is, but it's if you know that this customer has had a good experience or you think you know that they have, ask them to do that review or ask them to do that survey. And maybe you think that they had a great experience, but they didn't really, too.
right.
So that also tells you something. And, a lot of the issues are not marketing related, they're operational.
Yeah.
And sometimes that's what surfaces as well when I go into an organization.
Yeah, isn't that interesting? That's funny. You just answered my next question, which I think is great. Of how many times you run into you're coming in, you're looking for marketing issues and marketing problems or marketing opportunities, but you're discovering operational things that have to be fixed to make the marketing true. How often is that happening to you? Because that's been something in my career that's consistent.
Yeah, and I feel like it happens more often than it should.
Yeah.
Um, but that's why those are some of the first questions that I ask. There's what is your goal?
Right. Yeah.
So you got to have that. And then you really have to dig into, do they understand exactly what that means?
Yep.
But then there's can you actually truly attain that goal? And I've had clients when I get to that point and I give them the proposal and I said, fine, you said this is your goal and this is how we're going to get there. And they look at it and they go, well, we don't actually have the bandwidth to do that right now. We're going to have to pause. And I say, yes, please pause.
Yeah.
Or, I had a client, it was a small hospital who'd been doing their joint replacement campaign already. Like they had launched the whole thing like 6 months prior. And but whoever was working with them on their marketing hadn't asked the questions.
Happens.
So I got there and I said, well, how many surgeries can you do in a month? They said this is what our goal is. I said, how many can you do in a month? And it was less than that.
Right.
I said, there's no amount of marketing I can do that's going to fix that.
Yeah.
So, and not to say you can't keep marketing because there's a whole lot of things that happen before you get to the OR.
Right.
You're not marketing straight into the OR, but if you want to reach your goal, you might want to fix that problem.
Yeah, also it's a different kind of marketing and a different flavor. You might be working on more awareness because,
Mhm.
you want when you do have the capacity, you want people to be primed.
Right.
But
Yeah.
yeah, I think, one of the things that I've always said and learned over the years is that you just cannot market away a product problem.
No, you
There's,
really
there's
can't.
no way you can, and people try. And then unfortunately, there are marketers that will just take the money and not tell the hard truths.
Right.
And that's one of the things that I've always admired about you and I can see in your content is like it's inconvenient
Yeah.
to tell a client like, "Well, I love what you want to say about yourself. Let's make it true first."
Yes, absolutely. Because I'm the worst liar ever. In my whole life, I am a terrible liar. So I would much rather come in and say, there are a lot of really good things about you as an organization.
Yeah,
Well, we don't need to make stuff up.
right.
Let's say the things that are real, say the things that are unique to you that are real, not what's aspirational. You should keep working on your aspirational things. And when you get there, we'll talk about that. But if we make promises that you can't deliver on, then your customers aren't going to stick around for that part.
Yeah, I mean, you create a dissonance that creates dissatisfaction quickly like
Yeah.
that. And brand experience is one of those things that gets overlooked. It's pretty much that's what I work in and how I care about it deeply. And when you make people feel seen and you make them feel heard, sometimes it doesn't have to be a lot, but the act of surveying people creates fans.
Yes.
The doing something that makes them feel like you solved a problem or made it easier, or there's an opportunity to do a gesture that isn't expensive, but it makes them feel seen. Those things pay huge dividends. And I'm all for a campaign
Yeah.
because they work and you can build volume. But if you aren't doing the other part of it, you just skip it,
Right.
then
Right.
then yeah, I think you just get diminishing returns moving forward.
Right. I mean, there's a lot that goes on beyond the the purchase,
Yeah,
whether it's a service or a product, right?
right.
And all of that. Someone was saying like car ads, they're not about making you buy a car. It's about making you feel good about the car that you bought.
Yeah.
And because you're not going to buy a car every year. I mean, I'm not going to buy a car every
No.
year. You might.
I
Someone else might.
it's
But
like I did at one point. I had a bad habit for a little while, but no, I've slowed way down on my car purchasing. You know?
As long as it still runs, I'm
Yeah.
good.
I think you go through a time where you just get like, oh, I love these things. I'll keep trading the mine in, and I just got
Mhm.
tired of it. And I'm just keeping them.
Yeah.
Um, so one of the things that you just touched on that I think is really an important topic is, depending on the organization you're working with and how close they are to really thinking about their audience being human beings, is, you might have a goal, you might have a message you want to put out about that goal, but consumers buy everything emotionally and then defend it logically. They do not
Mhm.
buy off your list of benefits. They
Right.
buy because they feel like what you were just talking about
Yeah.
cars.
Yeah.
You have to hit them with something that gets them in the feels. And sometimes that's a
Right.
hard sell with an organization that's like based in science or based in something else.
Yeah.
So have you been in situations like that?
So many,
I
so
bet.
many. Yeah, I mean, and not just in science-based organizations, a
Sure.
lot of organizations, right? I mean,
Oh yeah.
everybody wants to go, we've got all of these bells and whistles and, you know, doohickeys and everything. And the question is always, well, what does the customer care like right from the beginning?
Yeah.
Like in healthcare, I assume that my hospital has good doctors and has the technology to do the things and is going to, take care of me. But what are they going to do for me? Like, how am I going to feel when I go?
Right.
Am I going to feel better? That is my number one thing. Are you going to fix my knee? Are you going to fix my eyes? Whatever it is, like, I want to know that I'm going to feel better, but also what does that look like to me? And so that's again, who are you talking to? Because it looks like different things to different
It
people,
sure does.
at different stages of their life, at different parts of their daily life. So really understanding who you're talking to and what they care about is what's going to win you that customer, not we have, the super high tech
Yeah.
ultrasound x-ray thing.
Yeah, it's hard to tell. It's sometimes hard to tell clients and or leaders like consumers don't care about what you care about.
Right.
And I know you care about this deeply, but just
Yeah.
because you care about it doesn't mean they care about it. They have a different set of criteria, and one of
Yeah.
them is, in healthcare, certainly safety and how you make
Right.
them feel. And, having worked in healthcare for years and worked with physicians and surgeons, their attitude is sometimes, well, it's about me getting them better. I'm like, well, of course it is,
Mm.
but it's also
Yeah.
about how they felt about you getting them better.
Right. And it's not about you.
Right.
It's about them getting better.
100%.
You're a tool that is getting them what they
Yeah,
need. It's really hard to say to a
it
doctor.
is. They don't love that.
They really don't like it when you say it like
No, I
that.
think I got a folder thrown at me in a meeting over that
I've
line of, you know,
I've had, conversations.
healthcare marketing.
It makes you really good at all of the other really
It
challenging
does,
health
doesn't it?
client conversations.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I've always thought that healthcare is one of the most difficult industries. It's so complex. There's so many moving parts. There's so much
Yeah.
change. You know, setting your own prices isn't a thing, of course. There's just so much complexity that marketing
Yeah.
is also one of the most complex things to do. So I think it fosters really good marketers.
Yeah, I think it does, and I mean, yeah, to that complexity, there's so many concerns too. I mean, there's regulatory concerns, and there's,
Yeah.
again, you have to be truthful in what you're saying too. Like, you can't make promises that you can't keep. You can't say 100% we know for sure that you are going to get
Yeah,
better
right.
if you come to us, right? Because it's healthcare. There's mostly, yes, you are, but sometimes that's just not the situation,
Sometimes you just don't know.
right?
Health is complicated.
Yeah,
So yeah, it's
there
like
are
it is
things that happen.
yeah, and it is the most complex industry. And when you go to other industries, because now that you've gotten out of healthcare and you're doing your consulting, you're working in other industries besides healthcare, I assume. And how does that feel? Is it refreshing?
It's it is. I mean, my favorite thing is I can track so much more stuff
Yeah,
than
right.
I could before. There's
Isn't that nice?
Yeah, I mean, it's not that, I don't value customer privacy, but we have gone so extreme in healthcare that you really can't track anything, and so unless it's very manual, like this person called and with de-identified person,
Yeah.
a person called and had an appointment and had it, and it's very manual and it's hard to do, and I like data, and
Yeah.
so that's the really nice thing is I can track more
Yeah,
stuff.
you're like a marketing kid in the candy store when you
It's really neat.
yeah, because I know in healthcare, there's, so many regulations and restrictions that
Yeah.
it's very challenging. We also work in financial marketing, where we're
Mhm.
just rich in data and
Yeah.
being able to see so much, and it's just it gets fun, but
Yeah.
I think you learn things from different industries that you can bring, to
Yeah.
other different industries. So, I wanted to ask you something about surveys because I know you're very pro talking to your audience.
I am very pro survey.
Yeah, and good for
Work
you.
of any kind.
Yeah, no, please keep carrying that flag because I think it's important. People
Yeah.
skip that. It always makes me a little crazy. But has there been an instance where you've learned something from a survey that's truly surprised a leadership team?
Um, Unfortunately, I gotta say not all of them will do the surveys, but when they
Yeah,
do, there is always a little surprise, if there's something negative, I mean, even even a small thing, what's always telling is how the leadership team then responds to
yeah,
that. And I have been thankfully very blessed with clients who go, "Oh, that's something that we can improve on," um, which I just love. Or, "Oh, they really want this. We can give them that,
yeah,
sure thing." And so, um, I mean, I think it's kind of hard to say like exactly what people have been most surprised about. When I was at Centera, when we were opening the sports medicine center, one of the things I was surprised about when we did the survey before, the consumer survey before, was people didn't understand what sports medicine was.
yeah,
They didn't know. I mean, not only did they not know that we had sports medicine physicians, but they thought that just meant we go to physical therapy and most people didn't think that they would ever need a sports medicine physician because they're like, well, I'm just,
yeah.
you
I'm
know,
not an athlete.
I'm not an athlete. I just like go walking through my neighborhood, but which you know opened up a lot of it opened up a whole new customer base for us of people who didn't realize that they could have a sports injury. And it also let us know how we needed to message it, like explain when you actually do need a sports medicine physician and not just
Yeah,
try to go to physical therapy.
yeah. I mean, there are always surprises like that.
Yeah.
And to go back to your point about, you have a good client when they're concerned about the surprises, big
Yes.
and small.
Yeah.
I don't know if you've had the situation where, you can tell a lot about a brand if a client finds out something that the customers are experiencing and they blow it off.
Yeah.
They're
Yeah.
like, they'll be fine. You're like,
Yeah.
okay, this is going to be an uphill battle.
Yeah. Yeah, and I mean, again, I gotta say I'm so lucky that most of my clients I mean, this is the nice thing about working for myself, I can choose
Yeah, right.
choose
That is
clients that
nice.
that are, and that is my whole thing is like I love working for clients who really wanna do right by their customers,
Yeah,
whatever their customer is. And when I started this, I was like, well, healthcare and nonprofit, mission driven, which is still, really important to me. But it kind of got to I've got other clients that are not necessarily you wouldn't say that they're like mission driven
right.
but they feel so passionately that they want to serve their customers well that I say, yeah, I 100% want to work with you.
Yeah. Well, that is a mission of sorts,
Yeah, it
and
is.
it's a good one. I mean,
Yeah.
we've been doing this. This is our 30th year in business, believe it or not. So that's like where I got all the gray hair. I know, right? And over the years, what we've really concentrated on is trying to find clients in industries where they're doing some good and they're
Yeah.
really honestly trying to help. So, we work in finance, but we tend to gravitate to
Right.
credit unions
Right.
and work with
Absolutely.
them. And it's a different feeling. I've worked with, straight up banks. It is a different feeling,
Yeah.
when,
Yeah, I've never worked with a bank, but working with a credit union just it feels good.
Yeah, it's great, you know,
Yeah.
and their heart is in the right place. And feel like,
Mm.
when you're getting up in our career, I think we've probably all marketed something that we were like, that didn't feel very good.
Right.
And early on, I was like, okay, if I have to look myself in the mirror, I can't have just spent the last 6 months on marketing a bar of
Mhm.
soap.
Yes,
I've
yeah,
got to do something that's making
right. It's gotta be a real
people's lives.
special bar.
Better be a damn good one, because you're going to spend every waking hour thinking about
Right.
it, you
Yeah.
know?
Well, yeah, and I mean, I always kinda said my example was a broom, not a bar of soap, but, like,
Yeah.
this the principles of good marketing are the same whether you're, marketing a set of brooms or healthcare,
Yeah.
but it's a question of understanding, again, the audience and the what is the product, what is the goal, what is all of those things, like, you just learn it for that specific thing. But I don't wanna market a broom
Right.
or bar of soap. Although bar of soap seems a little healthier,
Yeah.
like,
Better broom.
more interesting than a broom.
Yeah. Not by far, though. You know,
Okay.
you're going to run out of stuff to talk about real fast.
I
S-
would imagine.
So what's a
There's only a proof points there.
yeah? So what's a mistake that you see just overall, not any particular marketers? But what's a mistake that you see marketers making over and over again?
So, what I see happening is we either talk about marketing as building awareness only or the driving volume piece, like, the tactics that are gonna, like, the 0 moment of truth thing, like, when you go and search
Yeah.
and, you know, when but they're all important, but we're missing a whole section there. So you need to be driving awareness. People, but it's kind of passive, right? I mean,
Yeah.
it's just sort of you just need to be in their mind at some point. And then the driving the volumes is important, but by the time they're searching, they're there with all of their competitors. So they'll win some, they'll lose more, right?
Yep.
So what I like to work on with my clients is that middle piece of, again, I keep going back to understanding your audience, understanding it so well that you've got this like predictive empathy where you understand the moments where they may not even have formed the question yet,
Yeah.
but if you're there and you help them form the question, then you're right there at that eh, critical juncture. So then when they are searching, you're in their head already. You
Yeah.
have helped them create that. And the most simple example I have of this is you're gonna laugh at me because it's about a billboard. And we all know how I feel about those.
That's okay.
But if you think about it, like the reason I don't like billboards is because they're used wrong all the
Correct.
time.
They are.
But if you're driving down 95 and you're listening to your podcast or whatever, and you're just kind of doing your thing, and you see a billboard with a big juicy hamburger, and you're not a vegetarian, you would see that and you'd be like, yes, I am hungry. You have created the moment.
Yep.
And so that is the appropriate use of billboard. And that's the moment that I'm talking to the customers about is if you know where they are, what they're feeling at that moment, then you can create that. And then when they go search for it, there you are.
Yeah. I love that example because I completely agree. And also, I think, you know, you have to know where you fit in a customer's perception, life, and timing, like the burger
Yes.
example.
Right.
There are going to be people that are hungry. If they see a juicy, delicious burger and it's off the next
Yeah.
exit, you have succeeded as a marketer. So
Right.
each type of media, each type of message, each type of all the tools we have only can lift the weight they can lift and only are appropriate for the moment they're appropriate for.
Right.
And I think that's part of it. And more to your point, the more you zero in on who that audience is that you're really talking to, then the correct tools at the correct moment or become a
Right.
lot more obvious. And it isn't
Yes.
a broad strokes thing most of the time.
No, I mean, it's really not. I mean, yeah, again, awareness building can be much more broad strokes, but
Yeah.
if you're really gonna move the needle in a way that, saves you time and resources
Yeah.
too, and today, I mean, it's really important to be saving time and resources. We don't have big, giant marketing
Yeah,
budgets.
I agree. I
It's
mean, I think sometimes people take concepts from big brands, and you can build awareness with a specific audience.
Mhm.
But, if you're Coca-Cola, you can build
Yeah,
some awareness, period. You just have to have
right.
Coca-Cola dollars to
Right.
do it?
Yeah.
So I think that sometimes there are lessons people take from big brands that aren't portable, and there are some that are. So with what's going on in marketing right now with AI, pressure, speed to market,
Mhm.
all of the things, what concerns you right now and what gives you the most optimism about marketing?
So many concerns, and also I love my AI friend.
Yeah,
And,
it's helpful.
it is helpful. It helps to be able to, do research
Hmm.
faster. It helps to um, take all of the interview transcripts that I've done and pull them together and say, help me see the patterns. Here are the patterns that I saw. Have I missed any kind of thing? But it like anything, it's a tool and
Yeah.
it has to be a collaboration. And even though, it says a lot of nice things to me, it also makes a lot of stuff up.
Yeah. It telling you
It
you're
will,
brilliant when you say stupid stuff is not helpful.
it, it does, right. And it will literally make stuff up
Oh, yeah.
so often. And yeah, so there's a real balance there. And just like any tool, we have to learn how to use it well.
Agreed.
Um, I I use it frequently, but I, have a project for a customer and I put all of their documentation in it, all of the messaging that we create in it,
Hmm.
everything in it. And anytime I am in that project and I ask a question, I tell it to source it. Like, where did you pull this from?
Yeah, you have to.
Because
Yeah.
I need to be able to go back and check your work. So,
Yeah, it's like having
uh,
a really ambitious intern that
mm-hmm,
maybe has an advanced degree who is also really trying to get ahead.
yeah,
So the flattery and the everything is there, and you have to be really aware of it. And
yeah,
I always picture the people back at AI headquarters selling me something every time I get an answer
oh yeah,
because I'm like,
yeah,
okay, where's the sales pitch in this answer? Like,
right,
just stop?
yeah.
But yeah, it is an incredibly helpful tool, like all the tools we have. But using it ethically and using it well takes a lot of discipline, doesn't it?
It does, and it takes some real understanding of what it's doing, right? When it's
Yeah.
telling you, you like you said, I'm brilliant. I'm not that brilliant. And I don't actually like it when people tell me that either. And so um it takes I've my my AI of choice is Claude
Yeah.
because it does a better job of calling me out on my BS.
Yeah.
Um but for a while within Chat GPT, there was like this GPT, was Monday.
Yeah.
It was like a, existential crisis one. And so like if I went in there, it was like, tell me all the things wrong with this. Because that's where I find value. And if I'm just working for myself or with myself, I need someone to kind of go and pick it apart.
Yeah.
Like um since then I've met people who've are much smarter than me and have like built skeptic GPTs kind
Yeah.
of things that like it will automatically do that and it's not just being cheeky at me.
Yeah. We work very hard on that when we use it because accuracy is so important. And what I've
Yeah,
found, what I think is one of the most encouraging things, where I don't think it's the death of marketing or the death of anything, is that garbage in, garbage out. Quite frankly,
absolutely.
if you don't know the difference between a good
Yeah.
answer and a bad answer, or what perspective even an answer
Hmm.
is coming from, the more
Yeah.
experienced you are, the better questions you ask, and the more you know about why an answer is helpful, misguided, or a little too something.
Yeah.
And I think that's the difference for me, is I see
Yeah.
people getting things out of AI and just being like, "Yep." And
Yeah.
I'm like,
That must
"Wow,
be it.
that's dangerous?"
Yeah. Well, and I've had conversations with people about what does this mean for like entry level
Yeah,
positions? And but to your point, how do you know it's garbage if you don't have experience?
yeah,
And so it's there's this catch-22 that's happening 'cause I can see where there's a lot of that entry level work that can be done, but it's still a little scary about who is actually judging whether that work
Yeah.
is competent. So obviously there's going to be a whole future career path of understanding how to prompt AI for different
Yeah.
industries.
And it's a moving target because it's changing as fast as anyone's using it. So it is a very interesting world we live in, that's for sure. So let me ask you some closing questions. I don't want to keep you all day. We try to stay
Okay.
somewhere around 45 minutes, but this has been great. Like, I've
Yeah,
had
this
such a
is
nice
fun.
time talking to you today.
Yeah, I've really enjoyed it, and I'm such a nerd. I like talking marketing all the time.
Yeah. I mean, we could probably nerd out all afternoon. Um, so as what's something in marketing that you've changed your mind about? Something that you really used to hold that you now question?
Um, there was a point earlier in my career where, and I think this is just sort of developmental in our lives,
Yeah,
right?
right.
You start to get outside of yourself, and you're like, oh, well, like my human experience is surely not unique. So if I feel something about something, everyone must feel that,
Yeah.
which is not true.
Not at all.
Um, which is not at all true. But, it was the beginning of that, like, empathy journey of
Yeah.
like, "Oh, okay, we're all in this together, and, it's not all just about me and my little I'm the center of my world." And so it's been that kind of realization over time as I've become more of an adulting adult, um, that, no, while we may have similar experiences, we experience them differently.
Yeah.
And being able to connect with people and understand that difference so that I can communicate with them in a way that actually makes sense for them, not just for me, has been an evolution over my career.
Yeah. Empathy being one of maybe the best skills to have in marketing. And I've seen a
Yeah.
lot of egocentric marketers, they're like, I hate
Mhm.
blue. Blue's not going to work, or whatever
Uh-huh.
other
Oh, yeah.
decision that's
Purple was
just,
the one that I heard,
yeah,
so
completely from their own weird point of view. Like,
yeah,
were you traumatized in a purple room? What's going on?
right.
You know,
Why
that's real
do you
weird.
hate purple?
Yeah. And also, that's not relevant to the audience who loves purple. It's
Right.
so strange. So what would you name this chapter of your life right now?
Um, so, um, this chapter, it's sort of a combined, like, personal and
Yeah, of course.
business
Yeah.
journey, right? So my children are both off in college, and so it's just me here doing my consulting thing. My dog hangs out with me. Um, and a lot of people talk about like empty nesting, but
Yeah.
I heard the other week the term free birding. So that is what we're calling this phase of my life because I am doing the work that I love. I'm getting to do all the things that I want to do because I'm not, there's nobody here who needs me except for the dog and she can come with me, right? And yeah, it's free birding. It's not empty nesting. I'm not mourning anything. I'm
Yeah.
just out having fun. So that's what it is.
I love that. Yeah. And that's one of the things I always try to do with the podcast is talk to people. The intersection of personal and professional are
Yeah.
very close and integrated. And,
Yeah.
someone's brand, their professional brand, usually really reflects their personal brand. So I like to try not to overlook that. So, what's something in this chapter of your life that you struggle with?
So now I'm struggling with I'm still struggle with balance. Like I've always struggled with balance, but now it's a balance of I want to do all the work,
Yeah.
but I also want to do all the fun.
Right.
And so now it's integrating the two more. So I love to travel. So the great thing about this kind of work is I can take the work with me.
Right.
So it's, I don't know that it's a new struggle. It's just struggle in a different way. Like I don't have to balance being the mom taxi or anything like that anymore. It's just making sure that all the pieces flow well so that I don't start to feel like I resent one or the other.
Yeah. Well, finding that kind of balance is always an ongoing bit of work, isn't it?
Yeah, it is.
It
And
is.
I feel like I'm starting to get it better than I ever did,
That's great.
but the kids are about to come home for the summer, and so who knows
Yeah,
what's
so
gonna
that'll
happen.
blow that up.
Yeah.
So okay, last question, and then I will let you go. And this is for, you and any marketers that are just getting started or listening in. What advice would you give your younger self sitting where you are today?
Wow. That's a hard one. I would I would give my younger self a little more grace about I never had the here's my 5-year plan. I was not that person.
Yeah,
I knew what I wanted to do, but whenever that job interview question would come up, like, where do you see yourself in 5 years? I would feel really bad about myself that I didn't know.
right.
But actually, that has made my career better
Mhm.
because it has allowed me to be more open to what are the possibilities. And, oh, this is a job I didn't even know existed. Or I didn't know that. I mean, nobody knows that strategic marketing exists.
Yeah,
I mean, we just sort of were in the background doing our little thing,
yeah,
like, in our holes. Um, I am happy to let the creative shine. I wanna be back here doing that work, but I wouldn't have known that that existed if I was like, "This is my path.
yeah.
I do this." So, yeah, I just think I would just give myself a little more grace for not having the 5-year plan, like, having a direction, but being willing to kind of flow with it.
Hallelujah. I think that's great advice, honestly. I think that have a 5-year plan is a little bit of a construct in the world we live in today.
Yeah.
I have an improv background, so trying things and seeing what
Mhm.
you love and having a
Yes,
sense of adventure and sense of saying yes and as you move forward,
exactly.
can bring a lot of success. So sometimes people get really rigid about this is where I will be in 5 years, and they end up there and hate it.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
got
and then they feel like they have to stay there
yeah.
because, "This is my plan, I must do
I've seen
this."
a lot that happen to a lot of friends. It's always a little sad. So I love that advice. So thank you so much for being here today. I had a blast talking with you. And I know it was your
Mhm.
first podcast, but you did
It
great.
was.
And I told you
Thank
it was going to be
you.
easy and fun.
It was easy and it was fun. It was really fun talking to you again.
Want to hear more inspiring stories? Subscribe on your preferred podcast app so you don't miss an episode. And if you like what we're doing, please rate, review, and share. It's the best way to support us. Thank you for listening to Brand Story.